Welcome, everybody. We are getting going here tonight on night is it tonight? See, I don't even know what night it is anymore here. It is a Tuesday night. We are going to be talking about everybody's favorite topic today, pain. Pain in your life, and what do you want to do with it? So, we're going to take some time. I'm going to talk through some choices that we have to make with the pain that we have in our life and what we can then choose to do with that. So you can start commenting as you come in how your day was, how are things for you. I am feeling significantly better, and I would not say I'm 100% yet. For those who watched the stream yesterday, we battled the stomach flu in our family, and we actually found out from bunch of other people at our church. They all battled it, and so I'll have maybe a little update about that too coming up. But better. I actually got out doing a little bit of delivery tonight, just a couple hours. Nothing crazy, but just to get back out there and get moving again on different things. So anyway, we want to talk about pain because everyone has pain. Everyone has pain in their past. Maybe some of you have pain in your present. But you have painful things, painful choices you've made, pain that you've caused other people, pain that other people have caused you, pain that's just happened to you. Maybe it wasn't specifically targeting you as an individual, but it's just you were caught in the crossfire of something. Pain, right? Um, we have emotional pain, we have physical pain, we have, some of us have kind of relationship pain, family pain. Everybody's got different types of pain. So I was kind of inspired. If you saw the stream last night, I had an ice pack for my kind of this area here. I don't know, like kind of neck, kind of shoulder, kind of back. Well, as I've been healing up from the sickness, I've been able to kind of figure out a little bit more where that pain has been coming from. And I actually think that it was, an actual vertebrae or something, like a chiropractor type of thing, like a bone popped out of where it's supposed to be. And I feel fairly confident I got it somewhat better today and it's going to heal up. But that just kind of really just brought on this idea because even today, as I'm feeling better, and as my body recovers from the sickness, then other pains that I kind of ignored for the last week while I was feeling sick are coming back. Hey, Vlad, welcome so much to the stream tonight. Um, as these pains come back, I realize like I have choices with what to do with my pain, right? And so the easy thing to do, the default thing that many people do, is to grumble about their pain. Um, I also, hey, welcome, Antonio. I didn't add this to the title. Here's Andrew. Hey, Andrew, you're here. Hi, thank you for coming tonight. I think the other thing that it's you. I didn't put this in the title, but people kind of groan inwardly on their pain too, right? Like they will hold their pain and keep it into themselves. So, meme, welcome. Thank you so much, Antonio. So, I'll give you the broad scope of our channel as we welcome everybody in, and then introduce our topic for the night. So, our topic or our channel is a side of hustle. Um, our goal is to move 10,000 people from stupid broke to self-defined millionaires. In other words, to move people from poor in every area of their life to rich in every area of their life. So we talk about money and we talk about ways to increase your income and build that, but we also talk about other areas of our life that maybe is actually what's holding us back in business. Hey, country boy, thank you so much. Thank you for the lives. Thank you guys for everybody tuning in. If you haven't hit that like button, we always appreciate that. Helps get the stream out to even more people. Disfigured, hey, thanks so much. Thanks for the emoji. Give the heart back to you. Cairo from Brazil, Gavin, hey, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So today we're talking about pain and what we do with our pain, and then we'll kind of break it down. And so how I like to kind of handle the stream is I kind of introduce the topic, then we take a little bit of a pause, and then I go through, answer everybody's questions regarding anything that is remotely on topic. And usually because somebody makes comments on the beard anyway, so I usually have to respond to all the beard comments. Logan, same to you. Disfigured, is that a fish? So thank you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. So we're talking about pain, and just a little backstory. As I was starting, for those of you not familiar, our whole family was knocked kind of flat on our backs with a stomach flu this past weekend, and part of that, in that whole process, something in my back neck got out of joint. So I'm feeling better from the stomach flu part as we went live last night. Sauce, thank you. There's always one strong beard comment. I always appreciate those. So, um, but as I'm kind of healing from the stomach flu, I still have the pain from my neck, shoulder, whatever, back, whatever's not quite working. So there's pain, and it just kind of got me thinking today as I was going through life. I can grumble, I can groan inwardly, right, or I can grow. So I'll probably have to change the title here after I'm done, um, to add the groan inwardly, because you can grumble about things, right? You can go everywhere, and you can just tell everybody. You can just announce yourself as the victim for every little thing that goes wrong in your life every single time. You can groan inwardly. In other words, you can just smile and pretend that everything is good, pretend like the pain never even happened, just fake it, right? It's like fake it till you make it, that sort of thing. Or, lols, thank you. The emojis are strong in the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys. Um, the third thing, though, and the thing that, of course, we want to encourage on this channel is that you can grow from your pain. You can grow through your pain. Because I think a lot of people end up getting stuck. I found, even in my life, um, you know, that some of the areas of my life that I realized I was stuck in, when I actually kind of did that self evaluation, it had to do that I had kind of gotten stuck. I either, because a pain had happened to me, a wrong had been done to me, it kind of stuck me in that particular mindset, or stuck me in that. So, future, I don't know if I know you, Ghost. Awesome, thank you so much for tuning in. Emoji Game strong today. You guys are awesome. So, what I really want to kind of start to challenge you all with tonight is the pain that you have in your life. How do you think um, you can how do you think maybe it has been negatively impacting you? And not to say that your hurt isn't real. And so I'm definitely not going to come here and say, hey, you know what, every painful thing that happens, it's 100% good for you, you should just be just smiling and dancing and celebrating. Like, I'm not that. Okay, but is your pain causing you to just kind of get stuck? Is your pain causing you to be in this place where you just kind of keep this self-loathing and self-doubting, and almost start to blame yourself? Like, or are you able to take the pain that has happened to you, process it, and it may take time, right? This isn't a watch one live stream and all your problems are fixed, right? Like that's the clickbait title for this. Fix the pain in your life by watching this one live stream, right? It'll solve all your problems. But that's not real, right? That's not how pain processing works. But can you start to say, okay, you know what? I was unjustly caused pain. All right, please don't spam the chat. We want to keep this chat open, okay? But just please just participate in the conversation and have fun. Please don't spam the chat. All right, but can you take the pain that's happened to you and say, you know what? It was unjust. It was not fair. It did hurt me. It did take me back a step from where I was planning to be. It did ruin my plans. it did change my course of life, right? My my vision for my future was ruined because of this, right? And so, um, but I'm not going to let the pain become my definition of who I am, right? And so I'm a big sports fan, and you often see this happen when athletes suffer unfortunate career ending injuries because their dream was cut short, right? Whether they made it to the pros and got injured or they just never even got the chance, right? There's stories at pretty much every level. If you talk to people, you can find people who stopped playing their sport in high school, in college, semi-pro, pro ball, or like full-on professionals. Hi, Kat and Jack. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. And so, but when you've built your life around, I'm going to be a professional athlete, and then in an instant it's taken away, then you have to work through that process and say, okay, well, was being a professional athlete who I am? Was that the full extent of me? Or was that just something I was doing, a goal that I had that I can no longer do? And that pain doesn't necessarily hurt any less, but how you process that pain becomes the difference between then someone who goes on to life of addiction, drugs or alcohol abuse or different things like that, or someone who maybe just kind of makes it through the rest of life. They stop going for the goal. They just get a normal job and they just kind of live out the rest of their life without really any purpose. Or the handful of those who maybe say, you know what, this isn't what I planned or hoped or dreamed, but I'm going to continue on. And it doesn't always even have to be physical pain. And that's what we want to be clear about here today. So, I think of a great example of how to handle pain um, in a sports career, right? Of having a sports career cut short from what your ideal is Tim Tebow, right? Tim Tebow was a phenomenal college athlete. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, which is like for the best college football player. For those of you who aren't like big sports fans, but he was rated the best college football player. I believe he won multiple national championships in college, and he got drafted in the NFL, and he made some starts in the NFL, and he even won a playoff game in the NFL. But no team felt that he had the right skill set for him to hang around, and he still wanted to play, and eventually even tried playing baseball. And I know this because I'm a Mets fan, and he got on a minor league deal in the New York Mets organization, but that came to an end. I think at some point he tried to go back to football, tried to go learn to be a tight end. He worked his tail off to make his professional football dream, his professional sports dream come true. And in the end, it just didn't happen. Um, but instead of choosing either, going down a negative road of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, that sort of thing, wasting your life in that sort of way. Or instead of just taking I'm going to just forget it, I'm embarrassed, I'm just going to hide, I'm just going to go do it. Instead, he is an outspoken public speaker, right? He's a very well trained, very highly sought after public speaker who has worked on his craft and is anywhere he wants to speak, he can pretty much get into within the topics that he wants to cover about excellence and about being your best and about how to live for God in tough situations, right? So he's taken all of those things that this pain that is, I'm sure, very real. And I'm sure if you could really sit down with him and say, do you feel like you could still play football? I'm sure in his heart of hearts he believes he does, right? And I'm sure there's plenty of athletes who have to retire, but in their heart of hearts, they still believe they can play. But there's just not that spot for them. It came to an end for whatever reason. Maybe injury. Maybe they're just cut by a team and no team shows interest. Maybe they were replaced by someone younger or faster or whatever. And you can take that example to anything in your life. And whatever you face, yeah, it might not be the same. In fact, your pain might be significantly worse than that of an athlete having a career cut short. You may have dealt with like real physical abuse, real emotional abuse, real verbal abuse, right? Like those are real things. Those are real pains that you might have. And if you're similar to me, you might not have even realized some of the things, some of the abuses and traumas you had until much older, right? You might not have even realized that those were things. But some people will take that, right? And they will just turn into, they've been abused and they turn into abusers themselves, right? Or they were objectified, so they turn into objectifiers themselves. They take it down the negative course. Or some people just bottle it in. They have no outlet to take it to, they have nothing to do with it, and it just destroys them for the rest of their life from the inside out. Um, and yet, there are still other people who experience some of the exact same things that have managed to figure out whatever it means for them to issue forgiveness, not necessarily absolving people of what they've done, but no longer giving that pain giver a place in their life, and to actually use it to help other people out of some of those same situations. And to be perfectly honest with you, a lot of this channel um, comes out of my desire to do that. I've had lots of pain inflicted on me, and I've also inflicted a lot of pain on myself. And I really want to make sure that I'm not going to take those things, because for a while I saw myself starting to go, I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of decisions I made when I was younger was because I went down the negative route. And then I realized I was going down the negative route, but I still didn't have a healthy way to process it. And so then for the next chunk of my life, I really went down the hidden route. And so like just to give you one specific area that we talk about a lot here on this channel is like I'm still in debt. So I'm on a journey to help you become rich in your life, even though I haven't fully achieved that yet. Um, and I'm perfectly open and honest about that. And if you're like, well, how is someone who's not rich going to teach me how to be rich? Well, because some of the things that I've learned is I've actually learned more realities about money being in debt than I ever did before I was in debt. And I just now have the hard, um, I now have the hard task of putting those lessons into place. But you know what? One of the best things about YouTube is when you put yourself out to the YouTube world, you issue and you give that freedom of accountability, and you open yourself up to the trolls and the ridicule and those different things. And you know what? Like, I think that's actually can be good once you're in the place to handle that. Because I own the pain that I've caused myself, and I'm not going to get into it because this is a 1 hour live stream, and I want to get the watch hours up, but not just by doing that. But I I I'm here to say, like, yeah, I own the pain that I've caused myself. And the pain that others have caused me, I still have a little work to do, but much of that I've got into my place of what I need to do to issue my sense of forgiveness to them. Now, does that mean it's a perfect forgiveness? No. And I think at some point we can talk about that too on another stream. And to keep those comments coming, I'm going to get to everything you guys write. I'm going to get to and comment on. So I love it. I love the interaction here in different things. And if you think I'm completely off on this, like go for it. Like, because I'm not saying I have this 100% figured out, but I'm just saying from the trajectory of my life, um, I think that when I was younger, I took my pain and I went in a negative direction. And then I realized that wasn't good. And I took my pain and I just hid it. And now I'm realizing, no, I need to take my pain and I need to use it to help other people. Um, I need to take the pain that I've suffered, because what's the point of going through all this if I can't help other people who are maybe going through similar situations? Maybe there's other people who are out there who are feeling hopeless tonight that I can give a little bit of hope to say, yeah, there is pain. If you're in debt, there's pain there, but let's work through this pain and get through that. Um, Different things like that. So that's what I want you to do is I want you to see like, okay, if you've gone through this pain, is there an outlet that you can take what you've learned and instead of just letting it crawl into a bitter ball in your belly, that instead you can just start using it to turn it for hope and help for other people, right? So a lot of times when we talk about things on YouTube, we talk about like if you want to start a YouTube channel, the simplest thing you need to do is start answering questions people have. And I'm not saying you need to start a YouTube channel just about your pain, and that's not what this channel is just about. But if you wanted to share, you know, if you've come out of an abusive situation and you've come out stronger from that, I can guarantee you that there are other people going through similar situations, maybe not quite as bad as what you did, but maybe very similar, that they would feel they could relate to you, that you could say, this was what I realized I had to do. Okay. And so I can't, in this context, I can't tell you what to do in that situation without, because that's not something that I've had to deal with. But I can tell you in situations. So I've dealt with pain of betrayal of church people that I trusted. Okay. And so, you know, when I talk to people who are like, I've been hurt by people at church, I can relate to that. Right. And so, again, whether your view on church is positive or negative, that's kind of irrelevant here. The point is, I can speak reality into a situation of how did I get past that? How did that impact my relationship with future church people? Those are things I could talk about because that's the pain I experienced, um, to doing that. So the encouragement isn't to say you need to start a YouTube channel to share your pain with the world. Okay, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you had a place, if you're a single divorced mom who's finally kind of getting back on your feet after being cheated on, is there a place where you could help other moms who just got the news in the last week or two, that you could say, hey, I don't know exactly the pain you're going through, but I've been through some of this and I'm here for you. Here's just a meal for you to help you. Like, is there a way that you can take pain that you've gone through and use it to bless other people? So, and because when you do that, like that comes and that works, and then that builds, and it builds you the character of who you are. And I've just found that a lot of my growth, especially over the last couple years, has come from my pain. When life goes good, a lot of times I kind of get complacent, right? Everything is good. I start caring less about other people. I start just whatever, caring less about how I spend my time and different things. So that's that's just kind of the general thought process of tonight. That if you have pain in your life, the first thought is this. I want to challenge you to move away from grumbling or groaning inwardly and move towards growth. And maybe there's another step in there that you're going to need. I think in a lot of cases, forgiveness is a step that you're going to need. Sometimes the forgiveness is actually of yourself, right? If you self-inflicted the pain. Um, but I do think sometimes that's hard. And like I said, I don't want to go too deep into forgiveness, but forgiveness doesn't absolve someone of responsibility for their actions. Okay. Not even biblically. Not even biblically does it absolve them. Forgiveness means that you just are kind of saying, I'm I'm releasing this, right? I'm releasing this. I'm no longer going to let that have a hold over me. What's done is done. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to go be best friends with that person that hurt you. It doesn't mean those things. Like, I can do a deeper dive, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that. Sometimes we do some, like, Sunday morning Christian business leaders and Christian gig worker stuff. So maybe I'll do something like that on forgiveness, for those that really want to dive into kind of maybe more what the Bible actually says forgiveness is, because most people are like, forgive and forget, and that's not really what the message of the Bible is on forgiveness anyway. Um, and it's not really that's just what parents tell their kids: forgive and forget. But that's not really a way to process it. There may be other steps of growth that you need to undergo. But as you're growing, I just think that that's the much better way to get out. So I'm going to start hitting all your comments. Before we do that, we always hop into a time of what are you drinking tonight? I've got twofold. So I've got my Beast here, that just has water in it that was left over from when I was delivering tonight. And then I have a little bit of leftover coffee that was made on my wife actually made it. It's her leftover coffee. It's made on our Breville Barista Express espresso machine. We actually have a video on the channel. It is an amazing coffee maker. It's a great money saver, if you want to start cutting out that kind of daily coffee from Starbucks and make it on your own. Highly recommend it. We have a video about how to make some coffees on there. My wife made it, and I just kind of edited it for her. But that's there. So anyway, let me know in the comments, what are you drinking tonight? And I am going to go ahead and get caught up on everything here. I think we're going to do that. All right, let's see. Too evil. Considering the immense amount of skill, effort, and luck you need in professional sports, losing that opportunity seems like it would be devastating. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I think it could be true at the top levels of anything, right? If you achieve to the very top levels of, I'm just trying to think, like, if you were like the top surgeon at a major hospital and you had some sort of moral failing, or you were falsely accused, right? Like, I sometimes, because I've dealt with both, and I'm just kind of curious. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but just from your personal viewpoint, is it worse to be falsely accused of something you didn't do, or is it worse to just do something that you regret? Or is it worse, or maybe I'll give you a third choice: is it worse to have someone do something to you? Right? Like, if is it what's the worst thing? Is it worse for someone say you did something that you didn't do? Is it worse for you to commit the wrong thing against someone else, or is it worse for someone to commit the wrong thing against you? I just know, for me, I feel like I've come to learn for myself. I know I make mistakes, and so I've learned that I have to forgive myself to live up with myself. And I know that other people are gonna make mistakes around me, and so I've learned that that's just part of living in community, to learn to live with forgiveness. But I do think it's really hard for me to deal with false accusations. And I'm just imagining, if you were at the absolute top of your game and you were falsely accused, and, and everybody believed the accuser, and you lose your position, everything you worked for, like, that would just be so hard, because you know it's just that's hard. It's painful. Like, I'm almost like just imagining that, and it kind of brings back memories for me. It kind of almost brings me to tears or whatever. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. Yeah, we had like a youth development hiking backpacking trip, and that was one of the themes that we always used on it. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. We also said, so there's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? But we were like a little more like, um, just, I don't know. I was younger. It was like, what doesn't kill you only brings you closer to death. That was how we said. Those were like our two phrases: pain is weakness leaving the body, and what doesn't kill you only brings you closer to death. I've always been at my happiest and most fulfilled when I had the least amount of money coming in, but I'm open to being happy and wealthy. Yeah, but I think that's a really interesting thing, right? Because a lot of it has to do with a lot of times people who get wealthy quickly, and they haven't built the character to handle it, right? And so when people get wealthy quickly, either and they don't have the character to handle it, or they got wealthy quickly because of their lack of character, politicians, maybe. Um, and it's not political on either side. That's all of them. We don't take a political stance here, other than we basically despise most politicians. Um, but right, like, or like you hear this, right? I don't know the exact stat, but isn't it something like 80% of lottery winners end up losing most of that fortune in their lifetime? Like it's a staggering amount of people who get suddenly rich who still lose it all. I remember I'm kind of like this. I like the old classic game shows on Game Show Network, and there was the guy who, what is it, Whammy Press Your Luck, and he studied it so much that he basically learned where all the whammies were, and he knew exactly when to hit the button, and he just made like, it was like $100,000, but this back in like the 70s or whatever. He just made an absolute killing on the show. I think it was like a game show record for the time or something like that. It was a huge amount. And anyway, in the end, though, he ended up losing most of that money, and or maybe all of it. And I think he kind of ended up dying a really sad man from the story that I had heard on it. And it's like sometimes being happy and wealthy is something that's going to come together. But it's usually after the character is built with it. Um, so um, does that make sense? Like, some of the wealthiest people that are also happy are grandparents. And, a lot of grandparents out there are retired nicely, financially secure, and they're happy. Yeah, they're traveling and stuff, but they're not living in multi-million-dollar mansions or whatever. They're just happy. They're just enjoying the end of their life with their grandkids, their great grandkids. They're generous. They're putting $20 bills and birthday cards and different things like that, right? They're genuinely just happy, and they're wealthy. But it's not necessarily happy because they're wealthy. They're just happy because of where they are in life, and they have that wealth, and they're willing to be generous. And so, um, I think one just general broad perspective is one of the ways to be wealthy and happy is to find ways to serve other people with that wealth, to help people that maybe you have a heart for, that kind of you see going through the struggles you once went through, and say, hey, like, I could give this person, right? So if you see someone, like, let's say you really want to start a business, you know, now, and then in 20 years you pull it off, you start the business, you sell it, you become a multimillionaire, and then you start to see other people that you're like, wow, that reminds me of me. That was me at that age, and I like that idea. Like, I want to get behind them, I want to support them, and I want to build them up. So, anyway, that's just kind of some of my thoughts. You know, and if you want to get into the general biblical principles, remember, it's not money that is the root of all evil; it's the love of money. So it takes money to do the mission, whatever the mission for your life is. It does take money to do that, and so um, yeah. So monetizing pain seems like a good business decision. Well, um, that that sounds like a really twisted way of saying what I was trying to say. I don't think that you should just take your pain and put it on display and say, look at me, look at my pain, now pay me to see my pain. And I do think that some people do that, and I do think that that's what a portion of YouTube, and I think sometimes the more popular things on YouTube is, right? Like, my youngest daughter loves watching the fail videos, right? That's literally the monetization of pain. Watching people make silly decisions and have painful things happen to them, and then we just stare and laugh at a screen, and then meanwhile Fail Army makes the millions of dollars for us watching their pain. So maybe in that sense it would be. But in the sense of like growing your personal brand, I would say the idea is that it's not so much the monetization of pain, but if you can find ways to help people for free and then eventually monetize that as well, that's maybe a slightly better way of saying the strategy in line. To be 100% open, as maybe you saw in the thumbnail, we are doing a countdown to watch hours to get this channel monetized. So we have like 1,400 and change watch hours to go. So we're going to keep counting down as we do these live streams. It is a 5-day lag, so it takes a little while for all those watch hours to be verified, because YouTube doesn't want you just, listening to your own streams with your own account and stuff like that. So they verify all the watch hours, but doing that. Let's see. Start a YouTube channel to share my joy. Hey, and that's awesome. I would love to hear more about what your YouTube channel is all about, Cat and Jack, as well. And maybe I'll check it out after this stream is over. You learn nothing from easy times. That is absolutely true. Um, you know, it's like if there's one thing to learn from easy times, you actually sometimes learn more about your internal moral character in your easy times than you maybe do in hard times, right? Like, so when life is easy, do you still treat people well? Do you, when you're rich, right? Like, and someone's serving you at a restaurant, do you treat them well, even if they get your order wrong, even if they make mistakes, right? How do you treat people when everything is going well is kind of, I always think that's kind of like a good basic character test that you can make in your life. Like, my life is going well, things are going well for me. Do I think well of other people? Or in the world of what we talk about here, like, I'm growing my business. My business is growing strong. It's going well, and now I have a difficult customer. Can I handle this difficult customer well, with grace, showing them consideration, working to find a result to the best of my ability, knowing that, yeah, there's always going to be a customer out there that can never be pleased. But, can you do that, or do you have to see? So I spent a lot of time just kind of looking around in like various groups about like food delivery, and I saw one that I just shook my head at this week. Last week, it was very recently. Someone completed like $100 delivery on Instacart, which is like, and it was great. It took them like less than 2 hours. It was like a great delivery, but it was two orders, like, so two customers, and one customer left like a $90 tip or something like that, and the other customer didn't tip, and they made the post complaining about the non-tipping customer. And to me, you're missing the whole point, right? If if you just got a $90 tip, which was probably far more than you deserved, why would you even complain about a no tipping customer that was paired with them that you feel is less than you deserved? You see, we always feel like when we're slighted, that slight seems to hurt more than when we're given something extra helps us, right? And like they always say, like, it takes one negative insult to you, it takes like 7 compliments to build up. I don't know if that's scientific, but that's what they taught us in school, so I believe it. I don't know if it's true or not, but that one negative comment that someone says, like, that sticks in your head for like a week, and you might get 7 compliments from other people, and they kind of go out of your head. And I just, like, no, we can't do that. Like, we have to, when there's a good time, you've got to be thankful and grateful. Like, I can nitpick anything. Like, if you want to find a negative thing in any portion of anyone's life, you can always do it, right? Like, anyone. I'm sure Warren Buffett has things that he could choose to complain about if he wanted to, even having more money than probably all of us combined will ever touch in our lives. I mean, maybe Warren, you're in the stream, and if you are, that's great. We would love for you to become a Patreon. We have a link in the description below, Warren Buffett, that you can do. But um, odds are he could probably find things to complain about in his life. But when you think of Warren Buffett, do you think of someone who's complaining? No. You know. Anyway, let's see. Forgiveness can release you from the control of bad experiences have on us. Yes, I agree. And there's a great song on forgiveness by Matthew West. It's called Forgiveness. So if you're not familiar, he's kind of just like a kind of a Christian artist or whatever. But the line in this song that I really love that relates to that is that the prisoner that it really frees is you, right? Sometimes we think, I'm going to forgive them, I'm going to free them. No, your forgiveness isn't freeing them. Forgiveness is freeing you. I'm not going to hold that on me. So, Captain Jack drinking water tonight. Awesome. Hey, Paisley, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. The worst is being victimized. Yeah, and this isn't to say, like, I always want to be clear on streams like this when we talk about tough subjects and stuff like this. Like, if you're in a situation where you're physically in danger, like, yes, find safety. I'm not telling you to stay in painful situations. If you're in a situation where you need, you know, professional help, professional medical help, professional counseling, like, do those things. This isn't a medical stream. This is just dealing with just the general stuff that's happening in our life. If you're in the midst of a painful thing and you know it's painful and you can find your way out, like, yeah, like, definitely do that. So I'm not saying that there aren't real victims out there. There are real victims out there. You just need to make sure and understand that if you're an Instacart shopper and one customer gives you a $90 tip and the other gives you a $0 tip, in your head, just average it out as each tipped you $45, and you're going to come out of that way more happy, right? What's the difference? What's the real difference? The money's the same, right? Everything's the same. So don't turn yourself into a victim if you're not a victim. Okay, I'm not saying don't be a victim. I'm saying don't turn yourself into a victim if you're not a victim, right? If you get a $90 tip, you're not the victim here. Okay? And you were blessed by someone and you got to bless someone who didn't tip you in that situation. Like, that's exactly it. So, hard times make strong people make easy times make weak people make hard times. And I'm going to tell you this, to people. I've heard that, um, and I realized that that doesn't have to be. So I learned that in the context of a generation. Paisley, did I say hi to you? I want to make sure I said hi to you. If I didn't, hi, how's it going? We're talking about how do we take our pain and use it for good tonight. How to move. I guess the other phrase I've heard is how do you move from being a victim to a victor? You know, a victor, someone who has victory and who can help other people or whatever. So, um, but one of the things I've learned is this. I'm going to put my life in this cycle. Okay, when I grew up in easy times, relatively speaking. Now, my life wasn't perfect. There were things that happened to me that are painful things and things that I've had to deal with, and just like everyone is, just like I'm trying not to inflict pain on my kids, but they're going to have things that when they're my age that they're going to be like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe my dad did that. You know, I can't believe that he would say that or did that or didn't do that or broke that promise," or like that's just part of being a parent. Like, that's what's going to happen. But relatively speaking, my life was easy growing up. I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I was play outside till the street light comes on. Like, life was relatively easy all the way up through, really, so there were parts of me that never grew, okay, that never grew strong, and it's because life was easy, right? So I had a good group of friends, and then I would say right around my junior year in high school, we moved, and then there was kind of a bunch of tumultuousness that kind of started. It wasn't like crazy, but life started getting unsettled from about my junior year in high school all the way through my, let's see, I'm going to do a little math here in my head. Yeah, through my mid 20s, it started to get a little tough. But I hadn't grown the strength that I needed, and so I was weak, right? So my life was easy. I was kind of weak. But then as I kind of got past the 20s and into the 30s, right, then some really tough things started happening. And really over the last 10 or 15 years, I've had some, really 10 to 12 years, I've had a lot of hard things happen that exposed my weaknesses. And it both opened up the reality of the pain that I have had, and at the same time, it showed areas where I needed to grow, and I just could not grow fast enough to keep up with life. Um, and I've had this conversation with other people, So I don't know if you were born like in the early '80s. Okay, so if you're an early '80s child, I don't know if this applies to outside of that, but I've talked to other people like right around my age, and we feel there were so many things about basic life that we were just never taught anywhere around the way, like anywhere. You know, I was public schooled all the way through, from elementary school all the way around. Hey, I'm 81 as well. Okay, so I public schooled all the way through. I went to a private Christian college. I was in a church after that, but like so that was like my formative years. I did the full 15. I did college in 3 years, but I did the full 15 years of schooling or whatever. Plus, I was plugged into church. Plus, I did sports. I did extracurricular activities. You know, I was on a roll at times. I did some AP classes. I was good in math and science. Okay, so like I those were the types of things that I did. Okay, I think I passed like the AP Bio exam and all those different things. Okay, um, there are so many things that it feels like when I've talked to other people born around my time that we were just never taught about. Like just basic things. I mean, I'm telling you, like things like the first time I think I ever really started using tools when I was like on my own. I was never taught how to use tools. I was never taught how to change the oil in a car. Or if I was taught these things, I was so blinded that I never processed them. And I'm not saying like I wasn't given a lesson here or there, like when I was a kid, didn't help my dad turn the screwdriver. I'm not saying that, but I was never given, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you build a business plan. I'm never told anything about this. I was never told, there's just, I don't even know how to list all those different things, but it just felt like there were so many things that I wasn't taught, and those were all weaknesses. And um, so much of that, like I've learned by myself. And so now it's like, okay, now I'm going to teach my kids. Um, I got to teach them a lot of these things that I wasn't taught. And unfortunate for them, but maybe fortunate for them, they're growing up in some hard times, right? So I see a lot of strength in my kids and responsibility in my kids at their age that I didn't even have when I was much older than them. Okay. There are things that I would trust my oldest daughter to do that I would not have trusted my teenage self to do. Like, absolutely not, like 100%. And so that's the thing. So I want to kind of encourage you, not you specifically to evil, but just anyone listening. If you feel like you kind of got the weak person, you kind of had the easy time and the weak person, and you weren't taught all these different things, like you don't have to learn how to do every one of those things. Like I still don't know how to change my own oil, but the better solution than to just saying, well, I don't know how to do any of these things, is at least take on something new and challenge yourself to push yourself to learn something new that you should have learned. Maybe I often hear, you often see on my Facebook, like no one ever taught us how to balance a checkbook. Now I do remember that in math, but I also was in advanced math classes, so I can't speak to like if that was taught in regular math classes or not. But if you never learned how to balance a checkbook, you can do it. And if you don't know how to do it, go find a YouTube video to teach you how to do it and give you some basics on that or whatever. So it's okay to face those things, and a lot of times the pain might almost just be from the weakness, right? Your pain might be the weakness that you have. So anyway, a stand-up comedian will always get fixated on the one person not laughing. Yep, and I've done public speaking myself. You know, it's you sometimes have to look away from the person who's just staring at you like, and then you look for the person out there who's nodding and smiling and following along with you, because like otherwise, yeah, it gets very easy to get fixated on the person. Like I'm not going to crack that nut anyway, so I'm going to focus on everybody else. Yeah, we need hardship to achieve its true potential. I mean, I can say for myself, that's it for me. You know, it's like sometimes, right? Like sometimes forests need to be burned down to actually have a great rebirth. When people in society don't have any standards, they will regress in their behaviors in rather destructive ways. Um, if you need ever to see proof of that just have kids. I don't know if you have kids or not, but if you leave kids to their own devices, they may start out sweet at the beginning of the day, but by the end of the day, it'll be chaos. It will be chaos, right? That's what it is. And kids are like having a household full of kids is kind of like a microcosm of society. You'll see, yeah, there are positive things that they can do. If they all work together, it's good. But man, it's hard to keep them working together nonstop because different personalities come out and all these different things. Yeah, it just kind of seems to be the way it is. So anyway, just my challenge and encouragement for all of you before we give a channel update, because we always do that at the end of the stream here. Um, but if your pain has been eating you up on the inside and you haven't found an outlet to process it, strongly encourage you find a way to process it, whether it's talking to someone, getting professional help if that's something that you need, just going to someone, opening that up in some way. If the pain has just been just making you grumble and complain, um, you don't need to ask like, why was that pain good for me? You can just say, how can I take this pain and turn it for good? How can I use what I've been through to bless someone else who's maybe struggling right now? And if you have gotten to that point where you've kind of made peace with your pain and you've grown from it, first of all, don't stop growing from it. That pain will maybe want to come back and get you again. But if you can find a way to use that growth to help other people, to bless other people, serve other people, that's 100% what we're all about here. So, a couple updates on the channel. Actually, this one's not quite a channel update, but it keeps getting mentioned in like every live stream except tonight when I actually have it. But people often ask like, what are businesses and stuff that you've done? And I probably need to add this to the link list as well. But I always talk about that I funded a project on Kickstarter because private label often comes up. Like, well, what do you know of private label and stuff like that? So with my business partner, we funded a project on Kickstarter. This was quite a few years ago. We actually did it somewhere in the pandemic time, which was actually kind of difficult. You would have thought it would have been easy, but it was kind of in that there was a difficult portion of time, kind of where stimulus checks had gone out and where people were still kind of tightening the belt, and we managed to get it funded. It was a board game called Samurai Brothers. I actually got a copy of it in here tonight. So, and I don't know. So let me just show you. If this isn't a complete set, I don't. Well, it might be a complete set. I don't know. It might be, but I think it's just like a yeah. I guess it's a partial. It's a partial set. I think of what it is. But anyway, it involves Baby Ninja and all sorts of different things. And so, anyway, that always comes up. So if you're watching this on replay and you've been wondering about this, I'll eventually get a link up in the live stream here. I think this is like my demo set. So there's other cards from it. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. We live in Florida, so we had to have an alligator themed one. So we have an alligator cannon. So anyway, that always comes up like private label products. So I have a little bit of experience with it. It's not my private label in and of itself is not my favorite business model personally, but again, not so much because I don't like the concept of it. It's just because I don't have the skill set there I don't have that full marketing skill set. So that's something. There still actually is a Samurai Brothers YouTube channel that's up. We're not doing it's just dormant right now, as I mentioned in last night's stream, but it's there. So anyway, I know people have been mentioning private label the last handful of streams, and I keep mentioning the game, and I never have it here, and we actually got it in the room tonight. So anyway, I have my own card in there too. So someday I'll find it. Someday I'll pull that out so you can see it. Because if you're gonna make a card game, you might as well put yourself in the card game. That's just my one tip of advice. So we have that. Like I said last night, we don't have a ton of videos probably going out this week other than our live streams. Our live streams, we are Sunday through Thursday night at 7, or ignore that. We are Sunday through Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, Sunday through Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. However, tomorrow we have a baseball all-star game that's supposed to go from 7 to 9 and may go longer, and the game is about an hour away. So our live stream may be delayed tomorrow. We will have it, but it may be delayed. I was also thinking, depending on what signal is like where we're at, because we're going pretty far away and we're kind of headed towards the boonies, but near a town. It's like a town in the boonies, so, and I'm not really familiar with this town. But if there's enough of a signal, I may try live streaming just from the game for a little bit. I like baseball and I like cheering on my son's team, but I'm not one of those crazy fans yelling and screaming too much, except, when it's my son at the plate. So I just thought it might be kind of fun to throw up a little live stream and just hang out and just do kind of like some hangout question answer time, whatever. So we'll see. I'm not gonna like schedule that ahead of time. It'll just depend on if the signal is good. But our normal stream tomorrow might be just slightly delayed past the normal 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Yeah, probably not too many long form videos coming out, but you do still have a chance to get your name in the next Upside Challenge video. That one's coming out soon. So I'm doing a challenge where I'm trying to pay off one of my credit cards, which is $540, by just cashback and referral bonuses from Upside. Okay, so Upside is a cashback app. You pay for your gas at the pump and they give you cash back. Can be 10, 15 cents a gallon, all the way up to like a kind close to 48 to 50 cents a gallon, depending on the day and the promos that stations are running. There's a link to Upside in the description below. If you are not getting cash back on gas, it works at select gas stations all across the country. So you have to kind of see. We currently have 4 referrals. We also have a 5th referral, hasn't filled up yet. So if you are that 5th referral, make sure you get your fill up. I'm trying to give you a chance, but if you can get your referral signed up and in, actually for the next few days, you get a $5 cashback bonus for your first fill up, which is actually the best bonus that I've seen them give. So anyway, there's a link down in the description below. If you're not using Upside and you want to be a part of helping us pay off a credit card and taking on that challenge and just seeing, we're already over $100 cash back, but I'll be making my next update video I do every couple of weeks with that. So yes, subscriptions are always wanted here. We appreciate all of that. Likes on the video are great as well. The big thing that we are working towards right now is watch hours. We need about 1,400 and change watch hours to be able to start doing super chats and stickers as a part of building a side hustle channel. I'm also slowly helping people learn how to do it, but doing it from scratch, not as an expert, not as a YouTuber who has all this experience, like saying, okay, I'm learning from experts on YouTube and then I'm putting it into play, but without saying like, okay, but I already started with this social profile, like could Logan Paul start a YouTube channel today and have it be 10,000 subscribers tomorrow? Of course he could. We know that. But could you, who has 0 subscribers and 0 connections, and if you wanted to start like an anonymous, or not necessarily anonymous faceless, but like you just want to start a YouTube channel, can you build it? Yeah. So we're about 6 months into our journey. We are not monetized on YouTube yet. We are working towards it. But if you want to help us in that process, we also put our first video out in our Starting YouTube series, Is It Too Late to Start a YouTube Channel? So if you are interested in starting YouTube, that's the first video, and there's more in that series coming out, but it's just probably going to be next week before I start getting some more long form videos out. I do have a short that's probably going out tomorrow morning because I was at Costco yesterday and they had Halloween decorations for sale already. So that's kind of the channel update of that. Let's see, I'll get caught up on everything else here. Let's see. Live in Minnesota. I used to live in Minnesota as well. I lived up north. Brainerd Lakes area is where I used to live in Minnesota. So encampments, it's the direct result of people not disapproving of people slowly killing themselves with drugs and alcohol out of alleged compassion. Yeah, and I've had my experience with groups that do the exact opposite, who just give their all to help get people out of life of addiction, and they work. So if you want to look up a really cool organization that does it, it's in New Jersey. Actually, it's called America's Keswick in New Jersey, and they have an addiction recovery center. And they're super limited with how many people they can take, but they just take in people with any and all sorts of addictions, and especially men. But they're also, I believe they have a women's program now too, and they just help people who are stuck in addiction find freedom from that addiction. Because this idea of letting people stay in the pain that they're causing themselves, like I don't think it's my job to stop you from causing pain, but I also don't think it's my job to enable you to cause yourself pain. So yeah, investment properties, that's been experience. That is on my long term dream list. So when I get to that point in a handful of years, maybe I'll be coming to you to learn more about that. What's good? Nancy, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I know you came in towards the end of the stream, but we just talked about healthy ways to process pain, ways that we can do it here tonight. Wes Watson, awesome. I'll look him up. And then who else said they had a YouTube channel? It was that Cat and Jack. Cat and Jack said they had a YouTube channel. So I'll try to look you, Wes Watson, Cat and Jack, up here before we go. Like I said, we will be on um, as close to 10 o'clock as we can tomorrow night. But we're going to be driving. I'm not gonna do a live stream driving. I don't quite feel comfortable doing that with my family in the car late at night yet. So I want to do my first live stream driving when it's just by myself, to at least get comfortable with it first. So yeah, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Um, I know, like, there are parts of downtown Minneapolis, St. Paul that I used to go to that I've been told by other people, like, you just want to avoid some of those areas. Um, you know, but it's sad. I think I have a similar viewpoint to you, with kind of this enablement and different things. But even if we can't fix Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe there's one person, right? Maybe there's one person that we can come across in the next week that we can help and point in a different direction. And I'm kind of a firm believer that a lot of the best help that happens in one-on-one situations more than it ever happens from the government or even from a lot of charitable organizations. Like one-on-one help, like when we've gone through tough times, individual blessings that people have poured into our lives have meant way more to us than just generic things or whatever. They've been a blessing and a challenge and an encouragement to us. So hopefully I've been a bit of a challenge and encouragement to all of you tonight, and I challenge you to be a challenge and encouragement and a hope to someone else, taking the pain that you've suffered, healed from maybe a little bit, or at least learn from, depending on what the situation is, and teach and help others in that same thing. Thank you so much for everything. If you want to help us with those watch hours, we have a playlist of a bunch of our long form videos you can just put on as you fall asleep tonight. That would help us so much. But thank you all. I will see you again soon.